Talk about Elon admitting they don't have the hardware in their cars sold for self-driving. Yeah. I'll talk about Tesla earnings real quick. Tesla earnings came out. Main takeaway is that the car business is essentially zero profit, zero growth. The car business, if you break it out, is doing horribly. And their amount of spend is vastly increasing on these big moonshots, robotics and the cabs. So it was a pretty poor earnings. They had profitability, but it was all from like one-time adjustments. It wasn't from like the sustainable part of the business. So I don't know, it looks pretty bad. I will say it's becoming more and more likely. I'm making the call. I already made the call, so I'm just saying it again. He's gonna fold this shit into SpaceX. I think he legitimately wants to fold Tesla and SpaceX together to hit his fucking $1 trillion market cap increase, $1 trillion pay package. Just using the other shit to bail out Tesla. Could the board of shareholders of Tesla block unfolding things? The board of shareholders could block Tesla from doing what Elon Musk wants, yes. Have they or will they? No. They never have and they never will. He wants $1 trillion pay package, he gets $1 trillion pay package. They're not gonna, whatever he wants to do, they will do. The Chinese EVs are unstoppable. In Brazil, it's a float on the streets. Dude, I even saw some in Mexico. That's right on the fucking border. I was down in Tijuana and I saw BYDs. They're all, actually, that reminds me, there's a video I wanted to watch. Wait, 3 days ago, Americans crave low-cost Chinese EVs.
These videos are all over the internet.
This is what $37,000 gets you in China, and I promise you are not ready.
But inflation-weary Americans watching these videos can't import the cars.
Yikes!
The Chinese government forced Western automakers or non-Chinese automakers to form joint ventures with state-owned Chinese companies.
Can I bring it up? Can I bring it up? Or am I not allowed to? Can I talk my shit again, bro? 2019. Classic. 5 years, bro. 2019. Exactly 5 years later. Exactly 5 years later, BYD passed Tesla. And now, you know, when I first started talking about this on stream in 24, 25, everyone gives you shit and says, oh, no, these cars suck. They all explode. And I was like, no, they don't. They're doing really well. Now everyone's on board. Everyone's on the bus, bro. Everyone realizes, holy shit, these are fucking incredible. China is legitimately leading in EVs. I need to make this video, but there's many, many things I would, there's things I could point out that I'm very critical of China on. And my trip only exposed some real flaws there. But people are not positive enough on the things they're crushing at. And they're crushing at manufacturing and especially EVs. What about the graveyards of EVs in China? I know you've seen the same photo that everyone posts of the graveyards of EVs. We have to understand the EV graveyards are a symptom of it working. The EV graveyards are the fact that they have like 100 different manufacturing brands all competing in EVs. And when one is too expensive or has not enough features or is outcompeted, it just loses and gets dumped. There is a lot of like left behind companies that have collapsed. But that is because there's intense, brutal competition among EV manufacturers in China. The first floor of every mall we went to in China was six or seven. I didn't mean that. Let's say 8 or 9 different EV brands. They're all competing and they're engaged in massive price wars. In fact, BYD, I think today, right here, announced another wave of massive discounts. Even the Chinese government is trying to stop this, by the way. The Chinese government has been calling this Neijuan involution thing. They're saying you guys are competing too much. Nobody's able to make any profit, so you can't. China's telling people to stop cutting prices. But they're doing it anyway, because that's how fierce the competition is. Every company is worried that if there's someone else beats them, they'll get forced out of the market. It's a race to the bottom. So the deals are the best in the world by far. BYD is not the first seller in China. BYD is the biggest EV manufacturer in China. However, within China, within Chinese borders, they're actually being outcompeted by other EV brands. BYD's majority makes its money through exports. They're by far the biggest around the world. But there's so much competition within China.
Xiaomi, they're a cell phone company that has now gotten into cars because cars are becoming
Xiaomi SU7. Wait, where's my photo? Yeah, it's just a Porsche, bro. It's definitely a heavily inspired Porsche design, but it's half the cost and they're slick. I'm not arguing for the morality. I'm arguing that it works. Wait, why can't a US company partner with a Chinese EV company? Geopolitical reasons probably, but I think a smart thing to do would be to do to Chinese EV companies what they did to other companies and basically say, you can sell here. We're going to take rid of the tariff. but you have to partner with a local brand and teach them how to do it, teach them how to manufacture it. That would be a fair turnabout, and then it would be awesome. That's kind of what Canada's doing right now. You basically do a joint venture. They have to build the manufacturing in your country. They bring the technique and the process knowledge and the experience. They get 49 or 51%. And, it's a win-win. They get money and you get the knowledge back. But, we're trying to do the worst option, which is like plug our ears and pretend they don't exist as they outcompete all over the world. And by the way, it's not just affecting America. American car business has already been kind of weak. It's hurting Europe and it's hurting Japan. It's hurting Korea. Japan especially. I mean, the CEO of Honda, I don't know if I have his quote on me, but the CEO of Honda is like, this is 5 days ago. Honda CEO, we have no chance against Chinese automakers. He visited a factory, he's left him deeply concerned. It's a broader issue. And I think governments need to figure out how to adapt in a way that doesn't attempt to just shut them out, because it's not going to work. Yeah, the Ford CEO said this, the Toyota CEO is saying stuff. All the car CEOs are kind of freaking out. And to be honest, they're a little bit late to the party.
Now we see from China, the Xiaoping G6. They've come forward with a very nice vehicle. And if you look close, you find there is a mega casting in the rear. There is a mega casting in the front. There is no floor in the body. It's very, very similar. It's been imitated here. However, if you look closely and study it, you realize they've been improved upon. And we see that across the Chinese auto industry, brand by brand. This drive to imitate, to improve, to increase, and to do it very, very quickly. And we're reminded, it's not the big that eats the small. It's the fast that eat the slow. So when you look at the speed.
Wait, bars.
Car companies in the United States definitely need to worry about Chinese cars, and they are worried about Chinese cars. Even though it's basically impossible to sell them in the United States today.
The reason is a combination of tariffs and regulation that's linked to national security.
One more thing I want to say about the fucking tariffs. I'm sorry, but listen, there's an argument you could make from a geopolitical angle that, hey, auto manufacturing is really important for a country to have. Because if there's ever a war, in wartime, auto manufacturing plants can be converted quickly into military manufacturing. So having a domestic auto industry is actually considered important for that reason. Maybe you don't want your car companies to get beaten. If you're going to have a tariff that is a targeted tariff towards EVs or whatever, to other car manufacturing, to help protect your domestic auto industry, you should not have a tariff that also tariffs the imports of raw materials to making the shit in America. Our tariff policy is so fucking stupid that it makes it more expensive to manufacture here because you can't import the fucking steel or aluminum or glass or many. It is so backwards. If you have to do a tariff, which I don't think you really should, I think you should just fucking compete, but if you have to, you do a small but steadily increasing one maybe that's only on the finished product. It's so backwards, bro. It's making it so impossible to even close to cost effectively compete.
Even though the US has these policies in place to keep Chinese cars out, they're growing almost everywhere else in the world.
Yeah.
They have a lot of market share in Mexico, they're growing in Brazil, they're taking over Europe, they're big in Southeast Asia. Think of it as a global pie that's a finite size. And so when the Chinese come in and take share, that means another automaker like Toyota or Ford or...
And I want you to follow up on that. Is like, if you're Toyota or Ford or Volkswagen or Honda, you have right now the biggest market share you'll have before every year you lose more share to Chinese companies. And that means you have the biggest amount of profits you can spend on R&D. And if you're not using that to innovate, if you're using it as many American companies do on stock buybacks, then next year you have even less to work with. It's like you need to be ahead of the game on this. You need to be using the money now to invest in competition for the future. If you don't, even protective policies like tariffs won't save you because you'll lose so much money that you lost overseas.
Viewers in the US on social media are also seeing them more. Last December, YouTuber Marquez Brownlee posted a review of the...
We talked about this. And by the way, again, it's not just US. This is happening in, if anything, more scary in Germany and Japan. But it's happening all over. It's like, I think the auto industry in general was not ready for a serious, motivated, cost-competitive competitor.
There is basically no question in my mind that if a car like this was available in the US for $42,000, that it would crush.
100%.
The review went viral with over 10 million views. It really woke Americans up to just how sophisticated Chinese cars have become.
kind of fucked up that when I say it, everyone goes, "You're fucking lying," they explode. And when Marquez Brownlee says it, everyone goes, "Oh my God, I have to buy one." Pissed off, bro. I had so many comment debates.
There's really dueling narratives about what's going on. If you talk to people in the US or in the West, they'll say that China is not playing fair, that they're getting support from the government. But one thing I noticed on TikTok is that there's a really different narrative there. And what you see is that the story is more it's the US who's being unfair and hypocritical by not letting American people buy them.
Because what I'll say is, look, the Chinese government does subsidize manufacturing, but to ask a consumer to give a shit about that is batshit insane. As a consumer, you care about one thing. I want a good fucking quality car at a low price. That's all they care about. That's all they've always cared about. They're not in some fucking national mission to help out the fucking Ford shareholder. If we're deeply concerned about that, if that is a real concern, then the option is not to shut the fuck up and do nothing about it. The option is to either make the cars more competitive or find a way to domestically support the manufacturing industry. But don't pretend it doesn't exist and bitch about it. We can have a better industrial policy.
I think the future of the US automotive industry really hinges on the question of whether or not there's going to be more openness to Chinese technology. It might mean more openness to maybe licensing some Chinese technologies. These kinds of arrangements, if done carefully, could be a real boon for the US industry. It could allow for more innovation.
Yeah. I mean, that is the way to win, bro. The way to win is to yoink and twist. I'm not kidding. They just do what they did. That's the one thing I think I would love to see us adopt from China is the joint venture thing. Just fucking yoink and twist. Get the shit over here. Get the technology. Learn how to use it. Bring some manufacturing prowess back. Get rid of tariffs that make it cost prohibitive to import materials. It's not that crazy. It would work.
The Chinese cars are very hard to resist for a lot of people. And I think that puts pressure not just on US politicians, but also the rest of the auto industry to have more affordable cars that are as good as the Chinese, or else people are just eventually going to vote with their wallets.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I've seen this, but I'll show it. This is car exports by country. This is 2016. China all the way down here. This is 2020. Still down here. Between 2020 and 2024, they went from below the United States to #1 in the world in car exports. It's so rapid. It caught everyone by fucking surprise. And it's much bigger now. This is 2 years ago. So, but obviously, Japan, Germany and Germany are the ones really getting hit because so much of their economy is on the manufacturing industry. Why did no one else drop? They're mostly flatlining. It's really they're flattening out and the growth is going here. This is where the growth is. Isn't Mexico mostly exporting US cars? Yeah. Mexico on this graph is largely the plants of American auto manufacturers. Yeah, Mazda, for example. There's Japanese companies there too. I mean, it's car companies built in Mexico to export into the US for cheap. BYD's in Mexico. Yeah. Is there an argument to be made that lifting restrictions will temporarily increase blue-collar jobs while companies do R&D? No, I mean, listen, it's like introducing a predator into a controlled environment, like in an ecosystem. It'll destroy American auto companies. If they go zero tariff, all Chinese EVs, there will be a lot of plants that lay off people in America. And they're trying to avoid that. But they're doing it in a way that is just causing the pain soon afterwards. They're not doing it in a way where it's getting them up to speed. You could gradually lower tariffs. You could do that. Again, joint ventures are one of the best ways to do it. But it's a band-aid you have to rip off. You just can't ignore it. You can't la. You have to do something. The cars are better and cheaper right now. So what's the plan? It's not some magic. You can build good cars. Done it before. Imagine they keep the tariffs forever. Why can't that just work? Yeah, the reason it can't work is because a company like, let's say, Ford or Chevy or GM makes a huge portion of their profits overseas. And so even if America keeps the tariff forever, slowly but surely, all of those profits will be whittled away. And their ability to innovate and spend money on R&D will get smaller and smaller and smaller as they get outcompeted in every other country they export to. And then by the time they're like, oh, fuck, we can only sell American cars to America because everything else is banned, it'll be too late. You won't have enough to be able to compete. It's like the shitty Russian cars during the Cold War. You know, like they were an audience of one. They had it's a USSR. It's like they had those really bad backwards ass cars. There's just no pressure to compete or innovate. You need the competition. Competition is like the greatest force multiplier in business. The only time a company is like a chatter. They're naturally lazy. A company naturally wants to sit on their ass and collect fees, collect rent, do stock buybacks. Okay? That's what a company wants to do. It's a natural human thing, really, but a company. The only thing that forces it into action, that forces it to change or innovate is competition. The threat that it'll all be gone, that they'll lose their money, that they'll lose their customers, that they'll be fucking back to being brokey. They need that forcing function. Are you saying that Ladas are bad cars? Yes. I'm not really a car guy, but that's my understanding, yeah.